Okay, so we're gonna take this script where we did the tapered slope. So basically, having some kind of center line or center point on a curve. Let's Let me just type show real quick and get this all working here. So we have that center line. We have the point on the curve, which let me go ahead and again disable this to dictate where that high point is on our landform. But like I was saying, like we are stuck with this uniform slope. So this side of the center line is the same slope as this side of the center line. And so now we want to explore ways of creating a more non-uniform slope on the two different sides. And it's really not that challenging. We're basically going to do a lot of copying and pasting of what we do for one side, we'll do for the other side, but adjust that accordingly. So we're gonna, again, build off of this script. So if you haven't done it already, if you go to the landform from Centerline tapered slope video, that'll get you to this point. I don't wanna have to repeat that, so I'd rather just kind of build off of it. So we're gonna start there with that script. So what we want to do first is um, determine which points are on which side of the center line. And luckily, Grasshopper has this nice component to do so. If you go to the Curve tab, go to Analysis, and then you go to Curve Side, see it says find on which side of a curve a point exists. So we'll use this curve. It's asking for the points, which are here. And it's basically going to tell us, you can look at it this way. So -1 is left, 0 is coincident or basically on the curve, and then +1 is right. Or you can just have this true and false pattern for left-hand side and right-hand side. So we're actually going to just use that to kind of figure it out. So I'm going to give myself a little more real estate over here. So I'm gonna shift these a little bit more over because this is gonna be one side, and then we'll do the same thing. Uh, we'll actually keep this over here as well. Um, and like I said, we'll use this also. So we're really just gonna be copying and pasting this part. And then we'll do some merging of things, but for the most part, this is kind of what we're going to be copying over. So we'll go to sets, list, dispatch. So we're basically going to filter out our grid of points here on which side. And I'll show you what it looks like just so you have a better grasp too. So we'll just start with the left-hand side. It really doesn't matter because list A is going to represent the left. Then basically list B is going to represent the right. You don't have to do it for both sides. So if you want, we don't have to actually use this, but I do want to just show you what it looks like. So here's those points on that side. If I copy and paste, I can then see where the points are on the other side. So this is how, again, we start to organize and edit this thing. So I'll actually go ahead and move this one down. No, I'll just get rid of it for now. I don't really need to see these for now. But yeah, so if you want, you can always list this as uh, left, right. So that way we know which one's which. And so everything's, again, kind of built off of here, but instead of coming out of this entire pool of points, right, so all of them, we just want to focus on one side first. So I'm going to grab the ones from the left. I'm going to do that for both of these. And it's again gonna look a little weird, so I'm gonna turn that off for now. If I want, I can start to look at it this, oops. Let's make sure we do the same thing with that. So I can start to look at it like this, right? So here's how those points are going to respond. So let's decide which side of the curve is steep and which side is more gentle. I think there's more real estate on this side to have that more of a gentle slope. So we can stick with this being fairly steep. I'll increase the distance a little bit to be 0.3 to extend that. And then I can have it a little bit more abrupt as well. So you can kind of see how it really just kind of shoots up like that. And then I'm just going to keep this part the same. And I'm going to actually, this is the only one I'm going to be adjusting for the right-hand side, but I do want to actually keep that the same in terms of the profile or graph mapper for the next part. Let's go ahead and turn that off so we don't have that all messed up. So here's those points. So this is basically what we want to copy and paste over now. So we've got that. So this is one hand side. If you want to help kind of organize things, you can always, let's again kind of give ourselves a little more space so we aren't all over this area. Compress it a little. And now I can just select all that and hit Control G to group it together to kind of help manage that a little. And now again, I'll go ahead and just select it and Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And now I just have to replace something. So again, I've got the left going into these points. So now I want the right going into these points. Then I also want the right to go over here. Right, so now we have that side. And like I said, I don't want them to be uniform anymore. So now I can extend this even further out. So maybe this is closer to like 0.6. And now I can have it start to kind of go something kind of closer to like that, right? So we can see that this is obviously much steeper than this side. Like I said, I don't want to mess with that either. So I'm just going to keep it as is. We can kind of start to see how one side is much more gentle sloping than the other side. We'll see even more once we bring it back to being a surface and contouring it. But similar to the last part, we've pretty much separated the data. So now we have to bring it all back together. So this is where, again, it gets a little tricky. But all we have to do is kind of figure out those index items, again, from our left-hand side and our right-hand side. And then we're just going to merge them. So we'll be merging both the index as well as the points in the same order. So we're going to go to sets, list, item index. So here's our original index. Here's the ones that we've separated. And do Control C, Control V to paste. And now I'll drag the right into there. So now we can see our list, our index items of that one, and our index items of that one. If they look different, that's good. If they look the same, then something's not right. So I just want to remember that the left is this one on the top, the right is the one at the bottom, and I want to make sure that I've joined them together or merged them together in that same order. So now I'm going to go to merge from our sets. Again, start with the left, then the right to merge those. I'm going to go ahead and drag those down around here. And now I also want to merge. So I'm going to copy and paste. I'll just create a new one. Now I'm going to also merge my points. So these are the left-hand side. Here's the right-hand side. So again, I want to start with the left at the top, the right-hand side, and 2. So that way everything's in the same order. Because if those aren't, it's gonna mess everything up. So I'm gonna turn that off. I don't really need any of that on. It's not really showing anything anyways. So now I can go to list, uh, replace items. So I've pretty much moved them all. So I'm gonna replace pretty much everything, but I wanna use this as the original list. Here's the new points that I'm replacing it with. Let's go ahead and, oh, I think it's already there. Yep. And now I'll use this for my index. Now we can see it's nice and it's going to look identical, but it's just in terms of the data being organized. We want that to kind of stay the same. And now once I drag that into there, I can turn this off, turn this back on. Now we've got our nice blended surface. And again, if I look at the actual contours, you'll see that again, the left-hand side, like I said, it's going to be much steeper than the one on the other side. So that's how we can start to get these differing profiles on our slope. And obviously we can, again, always adjust those. Maybe you want it to extend out even further. So, I mean, if you want, you could go all the way to 1. I mean, let's see what happens if I start to do it like that. Is that the right one? Yep, it is. And yeah, we don't want to mess with that one. But yeah, now we can start to really kind of soften it up, adjust the slope. So, I mean, it's hard to get really more gentle sloping than that. Um, Beyond just continuing to extend it out a little bit further. If you want the other side to have a slightly different profile, you can always kind of make that steeper too by, again, making that almost vertical. If you want to increase the distance so it doesn't go out as far, we can decrease that. So now it's really kind of steep. We'll show in the next video how maybe instead of actually having it earthwork, we can actually use a retaining wall to do that same exact kind of idea. So again, it's kind of be one of those things where we build off of it to show um, different iterations of how we can create these earth mounds using either just purely uh, soil or topography, or if we're going to use some other intervention such as retaining walls. But now again, you can obviously apply if you want to have multiple of these. It obviously just kind of it just starts to really kind of further uh, uh, I wouldn't say complicates it, but it definitely is going to make it much more complex. But it can obviously still be applied from having multiple of these instead of just one. And again, if you want it to go in the negative direction, you can do that. In order to kind of retain that though, we probably want to make sure our slider here is the same for both. So I'm going to go ahead and group those. And now I'll even edit my slider to be like, again, negative 15, 15, and then I'll drop it in the negative direction. Now you can see it's more of kind of like this pool. So yeah, so there you go. So now again, we've made this a little bit more comprehensive, a little bit more diverse in terms of how that slope is continuously evolving to be um, different in multiple aspects.